Let's see. Let's see if he's talking about the thing that I mentioned. I would assume he has.
G'day guys, ZiggyD here, and in this video I'd like to discuss what I've learned so far about synthesis mechanics, mainly focusing on the memory nexus. It turns out that this is actually a lot more deep than I initially thought it would be. In the initial reveals and stuff, it all seemed pretty clear, and that the whole league would be kind of straightforward, and in comparison to Betrayal, that it would be rather simple. It turns out there's actually quite a lot of depth and nuance here. Honestly, like, this has been the slowest leveling of all time for me because I haven't even reached endgame after the first day, after a very long day, because I just spent so much time fiddling and tinkering with the Nexus mechanics
Of course, the
and
volume, by the way.
learning all the different things you can do. Before we get to the actual memory nexus, though, I just wanted to give some basic tips that people have been missing a lot about basic memory collecting. When you're out in the world collecting the memories, the stabilizers that you need to stabilize the zones can be located pretty easily because they can only spawn at the 4 cardinal points. So that's like up left, down left, up right, and down right. Basically where the bridges can spawn. So if you look at the little icons, they can only spawn in the places that the bridges spawn because that's the shape that the map will be. Something else people have been kind of complaining about is like having to stand around for ages in the zone for it to complete once they've stabilized it. Don't miss the little fast forward button down in the bottom right there. You can click that and it'll speed up the destabilization or the crumbling after you've stabilized it. I don't know, it doesn't make sense from a lore perspective, but you can fast forward it, and then if you want to leave quickly, you can simply just dive into the crumbling memory edge area, the blue area there. You don't die when you do this, it just teleports you out of the memory if it's a crumbling memory like this. Okay, and now let's take a look at the memory nexus.
One bad thing, okay, since he skipped it. So one thing, I guess it's also an annoyance is you can't do the skip, like, you know, do the spread fast unless you actually complete it and get the memory in here, right? Because sometimes you don't actually want it. Because if it's like a bad one, like let's say that it's like this kind of corner memory here, and you don't want it, getting rid of this memory right now is extremely annoying if you are in a setup like this. Because in order to get rid of this is you need to lock it down into your Nexus. And for Ziggy here, the only place where he can actually do that in his map here. Okay, so here's the middle, right? He can't do it anywhere here. He can't do it here. Can't do anything like here. He can't put it up there. Can't put it here. Nowhere here either. I mean, okay, these are actually plant nodes. So he could put that here and then lock it down and remove it. Because you can't delete these memories until they are locked in. And that's really bad. I really hope they change it. It's really bad. So that's if you want to be able to remove this easily, what you kind of need to do is have only like spread into 1 or 2 segments of the area. You kind of need to keep like 2 of these open so you can remove them. So what he could do is, instead of having all of this here connected, he could place down this here, lock it down from the memory nexus, and get rid of it. Just right click and remove it. But you can't remove these until they are down, right? So that's really awkward. So when you're gathering the memories, by like, you know, you have the diamond, right? You have the diamond, so 142. So you have this diamond, right? Down here, it says like repair the memory stabilizer, right? The amount of stabilizer tells you like the connections. Whoops. And before you finish the repair, so you can fail it, and that way you can kind of clear it, but you don't get the memory. So what I wish was an option is so you can clear it, and then click the speed the memory vanishing, so you can just like clear it nice, but never actually log it down, so that it's not in your memory here. I really feel like that should be a thing, because sometimes when you full clear it, if you want to fail it, you have to backtrack a lot into the memory darkness, whatever, to fail it. That's a kind of annoying thing. Yeah, let's keep going. Was it like 4? Wait, it was like 240 something. Wait, 140 here.
The memory nexus. It looks a little crazy, and it actually does get a little bit crazy once you start to build up and maintain paths. So we know that the basic idea is to simply just build paths to the reward nodes and get the rewards. So you got things like, jewelry nodes and currency nodes, prophecy nodes that give a bunch of silver coins, and more things that we'll discover as time goes on, I am sure. So the simplest idea is simply to, from the memory nexus, which is always your starting point, to build a path connecting out to one of those rewards. Now, in terms of placing these things, you can't place them in such a way as to where a bridge would be blocked. You can only make sure that a bridge is either going into nowhere or that it's actually connected to another bridge. So, for example, this path leading here, I can't connect this one here because although the left or top right bridge here would connect, the top left would go into this wall here. So that wouldn't work right there. The only thing I could do here is a bend that went down in this direction. So I don't even actually have any pieces like that. So that's the basic thing, but I think that's only just scratching the surface. There's going to be a lot more to this in terms of especially endgame farming, in terms of building up and maintaining long paths with as many connections as possible, and then stacking as many modifiers as possible. So here's some examples. Check out this zone here. All of those light blue modifiers are mods that I have added to the zone through my activities elsewhere.
Before he says it, so basically what you can do is all of the memory that is connected, when you add a mod, like a memory mod, it adds to the whole connection. Like everything that is connected will get that mod. So what he's done is he's been just connecting a crazy amount, and then eventually he's running that. There's one thing he kinda, I mean, of course, it's just an example, but like he's like learning the shit and all that. But one thing he's kinda has failed with the stacking it in this particular one. Of course, that's probably not gonna be an issue with other nodes. Is he only has one use of that node left anymore, which means when he's gonna run that with all the Jewish, well, of course it's also low level, but yeah, when he's gonna run that with all the Jewish, it's gonna collapse when he's running it, which means that he's not gonna be able to properly full clear it, so he's not gonna get crazy rewards. So the way you wanna stack shit like this is place a node with like 3 charges. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place like some like crazy high level good nodes like right next to the, or like in a like a line together from the Nexus start, and then, well, ideally you just like do like 1 or like you do like a 10. You do like ideally you do a 10 in a row, right? And then you use ones use from all of them except the last one. You save the Jewishness to the last, so you can have 3 uses of that. And then you start, now you have that locked down, then you start adding mods to them, and then once you have added a crazy amount of mods to them, then you run them multiple times, right? So the issue with like this here is that, well, he's not gonna get a lot out of it. Yeah, let's keep going.
In the memory nexus. So you can see that list is getting quite long, and there's a lot of stuff on here, including, increasing the amount of magic monsters for synthesis monsters, making them drop extra currency items and currency shards and corrupted items and things like that. There's tons of this that you can stack, and you can really just build this up to insane levels. I think the end game for this is going to be building really long paths like that and stacking as many of these modifiers as possible to just make insane zones. Now, you've probably already noticed that the stabilized memories have insane density. There's just so many monsters in there to the point where, like, as soon as you activate it, you get ambushed by 100 monsters. So they are pretty juicy to begin with. But then when you start adding on things that scale up the number of synthesis monsters and then make all the synthesis monsters drop extra currency and things like that, this is going to be very rewarding once you start building up that and then taking advantage of it by farming that. So how do we do that? There's two key things you're looking for. The memory modifier nodes here and the memory modifier amplifiers. So if you can find one just
amplifiers
here,
can be
grants
really
an additional
crazy.
global mod to memories connected in sequence to the memory.
There's like XP and like item quantity and shit like that. So for example, from this setup, but when I mentioned earlier, like getting like the good 10 nodes in a row. I mean, it could be more, potentially be more, right? So what you could do is actually let me go on a path about that. I really feel like I should have a paint on right now. But so basically, make it you get the main path, that is the one that you're buffing as much as possible. For example, I would go from here, or like I'd probably start from here because that's an amplifier. So you kind of want to get all the amplifiers on the way, and then you try to lock them down into the positions without actually wasting a use on them, right? So, and how you can do that is by getting another path from somewhere else. Like, so for example, what I could do is I could lock like this node here that has not anything, right? So the way you could lock it down is either you run this zone, right? But since it has an amplifier, I don't want to waste amplifier when I'm about to buff it. So what I can do is I plan the route here. Right? So like I get one that turns here and this turns here. But instead of just making a turn, make it so that it connects also here. And then by running, I can lock down this from the start. Then I run this, I just like a filler memory, and then I lock it like this down from this node here, and then go around it again, and then lock this down, like this one down, by connecting it from here, or I mean it could be from here as well. So that way you can like build. I think 25 is the maximum, so there's a limit on how far you can do this, but you can do that very, very far. Probably like 10. I guess, because you can always create a new path or something like that. But like, I mean, it depends. I don't know. I haven't theoried that, but you can do like very crazy path, and you lock them down without actually ever needing to run it. And I'm actually thinking that what you can do is get high level zone, like the high level memories from high level maps, because for bards, and then do like chain obtain like just filler nodes to lock them down in places by running like super fast maps or something like that. I don't know if you can. I haven't tested, but I'm not sure if I can actually obtain memories from like Harbor Bridge anymore or something like that. But you can use like filler nodes just to lock the good nodes in place, and then you amplify, like mod them into like craziness.
Placed on this location. So the way these
I hope you understand what I meant by not actually like wasting the uses on them, and then just like locking them place from like an alternative route that you're gonna just use as a filler. I hope that made any sense.
Work is you build a path to one of them. So let's say this one over here. We run that path, and then every single connected node that doesn't have a dead space in between it will gain the modifier. So let's say this modifier could have 500% increased rarity of dropped items from rare synthesis monsters. Something like that, right? So if we had connected all of these nodes, so these ones were active as we ran through it, and we'll do that in a second. I'll give you guys a demonstration to make it clear. If we do that and activate this node, its modifier will be applied to all of these connected nodes, including through the Nexus as a central point, these nodes up here, all of this. And that's how I've gotten to the point where I'm stacking maps that just have so many extra modifiers like that.
I am fully expecting this to get nerfed, because expanding what Ziggy is saying right now to what I just explained about making the perfect path, and then like locking down the perfect path and then adding all the crazy modifiers to them sounds really broken. Especially if there has to be like a global mod, like a global mod like cap or something, like you can't get more, or when you get more they start overriding the existing ones or something like that. If there isn't, they're gonna add something like that, or they're gonna make it so that there's a limit of how many connected nodes can be affected. So for example, by running this one here, it only does like 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something like that. That would, make it so you can't do like the craziness that I was describing.
That because I placed this ages ago and it's been sitting there just soaking up
Limit rate, yeah. I mean that's one. So it maybe like goes like 3 times 3 from the start. So from here to here, in like yeah, maybe like that. But even then, if there is no limit or shit like that, the example where I said like you do the crazy path, you could then do the alternative path around that crazy path, and then do the, I think you're gonna be able to do that regardless. Not probably the way that he's doing it, that you're connecting, like you're getting this node from here all the way to here. That's probably gonna get nerfed. But something like adding this and this into that is probably gonna be doable. So let's say that we have this as the crazy path, that is like all of these actually have like 3 users right now in the imaginary example. And we have the alternative path here where we're just connecting nodes into, like connecting mods into the main path that we're going to run eventually, or something like that. And that's probably going to be still doable, but you just can't do it from like the other side of the fucking Nexus. I think that's, yeah.
modifiers like some sort of investment. The way that I liken it is, imagine if you could put a map, just a standard Atlas map, in a map tab, and then every time you ran a different map, it would apply a modifier to the map in your map tab. Effectively like an investment. So you ran 100 maps, you come back, and then you've got a map with 100 modifiers on it. It's kind of like that. So it's going to get to be pretty insane. The key here in actually executing this strategy is maintaining paths and running them in kind of like an intelligent sort of way. So there's a bit of like a puzzling element to it, which has taken me some time to figure out. And there's also some mechanics that aren't super clear in terms of how you actually maintain the paths that I'll go through here with an actual demonstration. So the first thing is, as you can see, I've planned out a route to one of these memory modifiers. Usually I'm trying to do this in addition to also getting something else while I'm there. So in this case, I'm running towards the memory modifier, but also there's a reward node here. So I'll grab that as well, and I'll show you how to do both of those things in one run. Now, whenever you decide to set out to do this, you want to plan ahead, because if you just go and do it, then what's going to happen is these ones here are going to crumble, right? They're ready to crumble. They've got 1 run left on them, and then they're going to crumble, including this one up here. And when that happens, this path won't be connected to your Nexus and all of your other paths anymore. So that means the modifier here would be completely wasted. It would only apply to these ones here once they're activated, and then there'd be empty gaps here, and the modifiers wouldn't spread. You need to.
That's why you rebuild it as you go. You can rebuild it by, so when these 2 are gonna crumble, so when he runs from here, he runs through this one, it's gonna crumble, and then when he's about to start running this one, he adds he has to remove that node, because for some reason it doesn't remove automatically after it is crumbled. And I guess the reason for that is that it's an existing instance that most likely has loot on the ground still, so they don't want to punish people who exit that area for the Nexus to stash or something like that, so you can go back. So I assume that's the thing. But what you can do is, when you're standing at the start of this next grumbling one, you can right click and remove that, and then add a new one. And now you're standing here about to run it. It's gonna crumble, so you have to leave it fast, but you added a new node here, so you need to also lock it down by opening the memory bridge. So what you need to do is you click it twice really fast at the start. The first one starts this, and the second one locks this down. And then you didn't use it. You didn't use it, but now it's locked in place. So that's like how you can maintain the bridge like that, which is faster way to progress your your like bridge, but it uses the memories, which is not as strong as the one where you do the main one that you're gonna buff as much as you can while just like you're locking them down from the side. I don't know how effective it ends up being, but that sounds crazy to me.
To proliferate those juicy modifiers. So you need to plan ahead. What that means is that noting which ones on your path are going to crumble and then having replacements ready for them. So in this case, I know this one's going to crumble. I have a replacement here that I can put in. I know this one's going to crumble. I have a replacement here that I can use. This will work. And I have one here that's going to crumble as well. And I have another replacement here that I can use for that one. So I've planned ahead and I know that I can replace each of those. And I'll now show you guys how to do that, how to actually replace those as you're going. Because that's kind of key. You need to do it as...
He has 4 nodes, so he has the 2 new nodes here. And he also has to have... So 40% of his 10 is literally planning this to get this 1 node here. I've mentioned it before, I have mentioned it during watching this video, but I feel like there should be a way to lock down pieces without actually having to connect them. But it has to have a penalty, right? Because otherwise you could literally make the longest fucking route without having any kind of show. Let's say that he wants to lock these down, what I think would be cool is you could lock this piece by extending a use of all of like the whatever the route is going for it. So this would go away, this would lose 1, this would go away, and this would be locked down. And in the case where you have planned multiple nodes, well, this would also lose 1. So you're losing on rewards on running them, but it would allow you to connect the pieces or something like that. I don't know. Same way, teleporting in. So like if he wants to ever go in this area here, he has to run through all of these and extend a use. So I feel like there should be a way to teleport from the Nexus to the node that you want, but you can't give it for free, right? Because then you just like extend from there without, So that could also like remove 1 use, and it would allow you to teleport there. So that could be a way, because otherwise it's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be really tiresome running through all of these zones in the long run just to get into the one zone that you wanted to do. So I don't know. Could be kind of cool.
As you're going, because as you'll note,
go back a bit.
And I have one here that's going to crumble as well, and I have another replacement here that I can use for that one. So I've planned ahead, and I know that I can replace each of those. And I'll now show you guys how to do that, how to actually replace those as you're going, because that's kind of key. You need to do it as you're going. Because as you'll note, this is just planned. This actually isn't placed and activated currently. If you just pop one down somewhere, like this one here, that isn't actually activated right now, and you can't spread one of these modifier mods through it, because this doesn't actually exist right now. In order to activate this, we have to go to one of the...
Actually, let me go back a bit. Another thing is the reason why I was talking about the I think I was talking about before, but I feel like there should be a way to remove the memories without needing to place them down, because for Ziggy, it's extremely hard for him to remove these, because he has to run these zones in order to remove them. So there's like some way to remove them would be nice.
Actually activated right now, and you can't spread one of these modifier mods through it, because this doesn't actually exist right now. In order to activate this, we have to go to one of the currently existing memories and click on the stabilization point to extend the bridge. So I'd have to either go here, or from here once this one's activated, and then stabilize this point. It's easy when it's on the memory nexus. If it's one next to it, I can just, click the stabilization point here and stabilize a memory there. But when it's in somewhere else in your path, you can't really teleport around. You have to do this full run. So that means we want to stabilize as we go. So let's go ahead and do that. So first things first, we're just going to continue on through the path that we have chosen. So in this case, I'm going down this bridge over here. Now, this is a good chance to bring up...
Let me make this a tiny bit faster.
The difference between a stabilized memory and a crumbling memory. This one here has 1 use left, and it'll decay upon activating it, which means it'll be like the memories that you collect in that the edges will be decaying. When this happens, the items that drop within a decaying memory you don't need to pick up. They will drop at the end once you stabilize it. So you don't need to worry about picking up items in these. You just try and do it as quickly as possible. These ones that are stable, however, and have multiple runs left in them, those ones won't be decaying and they won't spit out the items at the end because the zone is secure. You want to pick up the items as you go. So in this case, I want to stabilize and we're just heading down to the bottom right. So we just need to go straight across. So I'm basically just going to run across. We're going to try and avoid the blue areas. It doesn't kill you, but it slows you down and makes it easy for monsters to kill you. So we want to be a little bit careful about those. And you can basically fall through a hole. So once we've just killed this area here, we've got a bit of time to just kill some extra stuff. And there's pretty good drop rates from these monsters, especially with the modifiers that I've been stacking. We can activate this as well. Kill these guys. And then we stabilize, and this will eat everything and spit it up here for us. Everything that gets hit by this blue area will get spat up here. So I can simply just pick up these items. Nice and easy. Okay, so we know that this one is now going to decay. I just ran it. It's fully decayed. The zone is just still on the map until we do the next action. And that part confused me initially. The zone is currently there on the map, but it doesn't exist anymore, and you can't do anything more with it in the future. So what we want to do is go to the next zone, and this is the important part. This is the part that you don't want to miss. So this part is gone, right? It's already gone. However, it won't disappear until we do something else. And this part's a little bit confusing. Maybe GG could improve on this, making it active, I don't know, trigger in a better way. Because right now, I can't place another piece here if I wanted to. But what we can do is just right-click it and delete it. Now, there's no gloss to doing this because this one's already going to disappear in a second anyway. Literally, the moment I do something else in the Nexus, this will disappear. So I just delete it now. It'll crumble away, and now I can replace it. Now, this is just a planned node right now. Technically, this entire path is disconnected, and if I get a modifier here, it won't proliferate all the way down here and connect to this other path. So what we need to do is activate it. In order to do that, one click on the memory stabilizer will trigger the current zone that we're in for us to run, and a second click will stabilize or activate, or I guess trigger this one behind us, because this is the bridge that extends the bridge out here. So you'll see this, ready? We click this, I'll just make sure I don't die, because the density is crazy, as you can see. GG should probably add a little safety point there. See how there's no bridge right now? If I click this, it'll add the bridge, and that'll stabilize it. Path secured, and that is the key. That is
and
bridge right now. If I click this, it'll add the bridge.
And now it's stabilized without using any. So this goes back to the what I explained about making the choice path. But instead, so this corner piece, like you had corner and then like connection here or here, so you can stabilize it without ever running it. So basically he did that, but just maintaining his like current bridge, right?
And that'll stabilize it. Path secured. And that is the key. That is the key to maintaining paths as you go and to making sure that you can proliferate these powerful points. So I'm going to just do the same thing. I know now that I need to like run down around to the bottom left so to get to the next connection point. We can kind of clear this area though, because there's going to be a lot of loot in here. I've got some extra modifiers on this one, you know, a few extra pieces. So I've been building those up over time. So we can go ahead and clear this one. Again, this is a secured memory. So any items that drop that we want, we have to actually pick up because they won't spit out at the end since this zone is actually secure. Okay, so once we've cleared this zone, we're going to just head into the same one, the next one over. And then we know that this one is going to crumble as well, so we just want to clear this as fast as possible. We're going bottom left, same kind of cardinal point idea. And then once I get to the next one, I'm going to want to replace this one behind me and stabilize it in the same way that I did with this one. So we can just go ahead and run this one in the same fashion. We're just going to quickly cut through the middle, which will be the safest route here. Since it's
has to do it really fast, though.
It's nice and easy to do. Try and kill as much as you can as you go, since all those items will spit out at the end.
Because in his setup, in his bridge right now, the one that he's stabilizing, the new one on where this is actually going to start to crumble down. So he has to click it like really fast and hope that it doesn't get completely fucked at the start.
And you don't need to worry about them. And as you can see, it's quite a bit of currency and stuff dropping. And it's only going to just get more and more insane as we go. So it'll be up to the left a little bit over here. And once we hit this, it'll spit all the items out, kill some extra stuff if we want. And then it'll dump all the items over here for us. And look, pretty decent amount of currency. So same idea, this one is about to decay. We go into the next zone over. And then we turn around and...
Also, I feel like the nodes that are going to be decaying, so basically when they have one use left, should have easier to tell, because right now it's really hard to tell the difference between this and this unless you go and look at like the small number. I feel like red hue or background or something like that to tell that this has only one use or something like that would be really good. Basically, see, this has one use, so he has to stabilize he's going to remove this right now. He's going to add another node on into it. And then he has, because the first one always starts the one that you're in, he has to click it fast so he clicks it first and then he has to stabilize the next one before the crumble goes away.
Delete this one since it's going to decay anyway. And then I'll replace it with another zone. So I can just pop this one here. And then we want to click this one twice to activate the zone we're in, and secondly, to extend the bridge. Same thing as before. And now that one is secured behind us and our path is maintained. However, it's crumbling really quickly. So you got to be a little careful and fast about that because some of these crumbling zones actually crumble really fast at the start. So we need to go down this way and stabilize that. That was a little close. I almost screwed up my entire demonstration because some of these crumble really fast at the start. So you got to get moving straight away.
It has blue edges, but I think it's not enough. I don't think it's enough.
A skill that jumps rather than a skill that travels. So shield charge and whirling blades are going to path you over gaps in this. So
that's actually very, very good point, and that's really bad for those skills. When I have a couple times when Flame Dash literally saved me from, because I dashed through like an area that there was no way to go through. Phase Run, I don't think Phase Run works either, because you go into the decay or whatever. But yeah, I feel like they should make it so that when you use a mobility skill, then it kind of like ignores because if you try to shield charge, like let's say that this here where my cursor is right now, it's area that you can be in. If you flame dash from here to here, it works, but if you try to shield charge or whirling blade through that, you're gone because you got in there.
Don't use those. You probably want to use something like Flame Dash or Lightning Warp or Leap Slam for specifically jumping over the memory areas. If you go from one safe point to another safe point, it's good, but if you land somewhere in the middle, you can either fall through or get like slowed by a crazy amount. So this one's secured. We're gonna have to do the same thing with this one. Firstly, though, this one's still planned, so we activate it with the bridge. That'll activate it. Then we go into the zone, and then behind us, we need to delete this one again since it's currently done.
Going back to this, this actually, like placing it this like that, is also a block for the reward zones, because you have a path here. A reward zone cannot spawn where the bridge is here. Well, it cannot spawn really at all. Like, you literally cannot spawn a reward here because it would have to connect to this. So this is effectively blocking a reward from spawning here. So if we go back to the example where I was mentioning about this, so if you use zones with multiple like bridges. Also, I think that if you have a 4-bridge memory, it always only has 2 users. I don't remember having a 1v3, but ones that have 3 connections or bridges, they can have 3 users. So you would like try to block the memory spawning, or like not memories, they are memories, but you would try to block the reward spawning on one side, because that side you try to stabilize them in place without actually needing to run the choice that you're gonna do. And on the other side, where the memory, like the rewards can still spawn, then in those you can try to connect the modifiers into the Jewish, right?
And then we replace it with a new memory, and then we have to click this one again twice to activate it. So this is a pretty safe one. We'll just make sure we kill the stuff around us before we die, and then extend the bridge, and the path is secured. You can see how we've maintained that path by planning ahead. And that means once I get this memory modifier ahead of us, it's going to proliferate to everything else, and it'll be super juicy. Okay, so continuing.
There's a lot of like min-maxing you can do if you really want to choose up like one path and be able to run it multiple times. Also, no, I haven't seen it.
We just place this one. We know there's one use there, so we're safe at this point. We can go ahead and go into the next zone. We don't need to maintain anything behind us. This will still have one run in it, so we can leave it. And now we're at the point where we're at a crossroads between our reward and one of these modifiers. So what we ideally want to do is hit the modifier first, because then it'll apply to everything else.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I was about to say you can apply it when this is connected. Since this is connected, you can apply the mod into the reward as well,
including the reward node that we're going to go run. So we'll get some extra loot out of it. So we want to head over
to
that one first. So I'm going to.
Which means that if you have this, if you never run this one, you can apply multiple mods on this.
Everything else, including the reward node that we're going to go run, so we'll get some extra loot out of it. So we want to head over to that one first. So I'm going to just activate this zone, and we're going to head over to the bottom left. All right, so we're now at this point here. We don't need to do anything on this stabilizer.
I think you can actually, let me go back. I think you can actually fill the entire thing and just leave 1 or 2 zones on break and for it to spawn. I mean, well, there's a limit of how many like your memories can be in the thing. I think 1, 2, 3. Okay, I don't know. Maybe there isn't. That's over. That's if I do. I don't know if my math is incorrect, but that looks like more than 25 to me. Right? That's none of like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he has more than 25. I remember somebody talking about like a 25 limit. Actually, I think I mentioned it during this video at some point, but it's definitely not 25. Right? It's over 25. Maybe they increased it, maybe they didn't. But basically you can, so if we make a one straight line from here to here, is this an old build? No, I think this is from the actual league from Ziggy. You can block memories spawn the memories. You can block the reward memories from spawning in this, like in the whole, like the side, by making sure that every single node that you have here is like a 4 connection. So if you do that, you can block so many places from spawning the rewards. Also, like I wonder like how bad it's gonna feel if like reward spawns here with the bridge here, because then you would have to like go from here, or like have to remove them and to connect them. Yeah, there's so much. Like I feel like this is a completely its own game inside the game, and it's just, I feel like we need more than 10 memories. I think we need more than 10 memories that we can interact with, or if you keep it like that, allow us to at least rotate them, something like that. Being able to rotate them, I don't think it breaks the system. I don't think it makes it too easy. Like this is like very, very interesting and intriguing in the system, and I really like it, but it has some flaws, which is like, well, the first one was the removal of the, I think that's actually my biggest issue right now, the removal of the memories you have in your like inventory.
And that means once I get this memory modifier ahead of us, it's going to proliferate to everything else and going to be super juicy. Okay, so continuing on, we just placed this one. We know there's one use there, so we're safe at this point. We can go ahead and go into the next zone. We don't need to maintain anything behind us. This will still have one run in it, so we can leave it. And now we're at the point where we're at a crossroads between our reward and one of these modifiers. So what we ideally want to do is hit the modifier first, because then it'll apply to everything else, including the reward node that we're going to go run to. We'll get some extra loot out of it. So we want to head over to that one first. So I'm going to just activate this zone, and we're going to head over to the bottom left. All right, so we're now at this point here. We don't need to do anything on this stabilizer, because this is all already stabilized. But we now go into the modifier node. Now, these ones can be a little tricky because they do decay quite quickly. We need to run across and find the modifier node safety island area. This isn't on the cardinal points. It'll just be somewhere in the map, so we kind of need to like pay attention to the map and see where we can find it. It looks like, but however, I can see it on the minimap already right next to me, so that will be nice and easy to find at least.
That's when I was talking about the issues. That's another issue actually. I think I have failed at least 1 or 2 reward memories because they were like these mazes that had like dead ends and whatnot. And I went one wrong direction at the start, and there was no way for me to get onto the start of the other side because it's faded away. So there was like a 50-50, and I just happened to take the wrong one, unless there's something that I'm missing. Usually when you click the stabilizer, it kind of shows where it can't be. So for example, in this one, like let's assume we have one where it opens up here, it opens here and here, so you can't like really see. It's when you click this, it starts decaying fast from this corner, so it kind of tells you that it's not going to be there. However, what I have had happen to me is, in that case, so I assume it's like gonna be down here or like somewhere here. So I went here, but what ended up happening is I would have needed to make like actually go from here that looked like it's gonna, you know, collapse, because I had a dead end somewhere here. So I actually would have to go on like right next to the start of the decay and make a loop around. And that felt really bad.
So I'm probably just going to head straight down here, and it's right here. So it's actually one of the easiest ones of all time. So what we can do is we can modify, stabilize. Clicking this button applies the modifier pulse. As you can see, it just pulsed out. And what it added was synthesized magic monsters have 60% increased chance to drop a unique item. Nice. And here's the big payoff. As you'll note, it's applied to every single zone connected, including all the ones over here, including all the ones up from the memory nexus. All of this has it, even these old paths, and I've now added an extra mod to my big fat ones that have been growing mods for ages. It's applied to every single thing connected. So the strategy ends up revolving around this idea of, or I think long term, you can use the Nexus as a save point, build some really long paths off it, and then run like multiple runs off of another side to get to these memory modifier points. Eventually, you're probably going to want to run them, but as long as you have this strategy of maintaining the bridge behind you, you will consume this, get some fat, juicy rewards, and then replace it with something else, keep the entire path rolling, and your paths will branch out and grow and maintain themselves over time, as long as you stick with that strategy. And each time you go and hit one of these modifiers, everything's just going to get juicier and juicier. It's just kind of crazy that you can get one of these modifiers and apply it to every single zone like that. I've got like 30 zones connected here, and each one of those is getting those mods. It gets pretty insane.
There's a limit to how much you can really do that with the way he's doing it, because like every time you run this, like you take a use, right? So eventually the juiced up areas will end up, you run out of them. So you can't really. There's a limit to this with the way, if you like keep going and repairing the bridge as you go, because now this one, the new one here, right? Sorry, these one that are new ones only have the most recent addition to them. So there is a hard like limit to it that way. But if you do the, assuming there is no cap to how many extra mods you can add to a zone. I mean, there has to be at some point, right? But you in theory feed one node per year, not one node, but a whole path. So what you do is you connect. You want to go through the amplifiers because they have bonds, right? So you go through the amplifiers. You can lock down all of this path without actually ever running it by making an alternate path next to it, literally just using to stabilize them. So you make sure that you have like three used nodes, or one if they're like two if they're like really juicy. So you can make the main path, and then you connect you stabilize the planned memories by having an alternate path next to you, and then you juice that up, and then you run that multiple times when it's like.
I've got like 30 zones connected here, and each one of those is getting those mods. It gets pretty insane. So once we've done that, you'll notice that this zone is decayed around us, and at this point we're like, oh no, how do we get to this now? The good thing is, once you're at one of these islands, you can just jump into the darkness. Again, you don't die. It teleports you to.
You can see when I realized that I did it kind of an accident, but I was like, oh my god, that is so great that it worked like that.
The start, and then we can actually just run back through the zones we've already been through. So if we go back through here, this doesn't actually consume an extra charge as long as this zone is still loaded. You'll see how we've already explored this one. This won't consume an extra charge. So you have a bit of a time leeway where you can re-enter previous zones to backtrack without resetting the zone and consuming a charge. So you don't
I feel like most people learn that by accident. But yeah.
have to hit a stabilizer again and activate it again. So it's still good there. This one will decay, right? Because it only had the one used to get that memory mod. Otherwise,
so the thing Ziggy is talking about here, right?
Again. So it's still.
See how that is like decaying after he left it, and that only happens to the reward nodes. So when he's talking about this, the reason why I don't think this is happening is because, well, actually I can't really say the loot anymore because this had loot as well when you left it. But no, wait, no. The reason is, in this one the loot is somewhere else. It's not at the start of the zone, right? It's somewhere in the memory itself. But in these your pathing memories, the loot from the memory that crumbled away is at the bridge, or at the end of the bridge. And if the instance is still up, I think the reason they did that is that you can pass them away. That's the reason I think it works like that. I don't know.
good there. This one will decay, right? Because it only had the one used to get that memory mod. Otherwise, you could get multiple memory mods and it'd be insane. So that one's now done behind us.
Yeah, back to that. So when you are in the when you're in the reward zone, like
I have to
node,
hit stabilizer again and activate it again. So it's still.
So when you were in the reward here, you can use the stabilizer or whatever to help like open a portal back to the Nexus to stash, and then you can go back to it and it's still there, right? So if you loot it, you TP from there to the Nexus, or like the start. This is still active because you can still take the TP back to it as long as the instance is like alive. I think it's like 5 minutes or something like that.
Still good there. This one will decay, right? Because it only had the one used to get that memory mod. Otherwise, you could get multiple memory mods and it'd be insane. So that one's now done behind us. And obviously, it doesn't matter. It's done. It's served its purpose. It's given us the modifier to all 30 of our connected zones. So then we can just head into this reward node and go ahead and grab the reward. And then we're done with this path. The path will be maintained for future purposes. And then if we say go over this side and get this memory modifier, this path is still fully connected because we maintained it behind us. And then, any modifiers we get over here are also going to proliferate over to here, building this up over time as well. So you get this kind of like back and forth building up of paths, getting more and more valuable and rewarding. So let me go ahead and get my reward node and then we'll be done. All right, and here it is. We can hit the stabilizer here to dump any of the items that is
really great.
Finish the zone's decay and activate our synthesis chests and get some fat juicy rewards. Holy crap!
Really good video.
Whistler's 5. Damn,
it explains
nice.
like the basic mechanics very well.
That's pretty juicy. So some of these reward nodes end up being pretty good. I've had especially like essence ones as well, just dropping crazy amounts of essences. Guys, I think I like this league a lot. I'm sure there's some details and mechanics here I can explore, and I don't have any.
I'm sure there's more mechanics you can explore. Yeah, like the blazing the alternate path just to lock down your memories. Sounds like one.
Ideas yet on how the whole synthesis mechanics works of synthesizing items, but at least my initial impressions here from having tinkered around with these mechanics, I'm liking this a lot. So first impressions I think have been a little poor for some people. A lot of people have been saying that they maybe don't like the league mechanic, but I have to say, barring a few quality of life issues and little things that ZiggyD could improve, I think like the depth is here, the long-term legs is here. There's good rewards, there's crazy density, and there's the ability to just build up some like insane, effectively alternate endgame map style zones with crazy modifiers. Once we've gotten our rewards, to get back, all we need to do is click return to the Nexus by clicking the memory stabilizer and click return to the Nexus.
And see, there it opens it, and when he goes there, this zone should still stay active while he's in the start.
It'll open a portal.
I don't know if
and then we can head back, so we don't have to backtrack and accidentally use any.
Yeah, it's still there, as you can see. He's like here, but it's still active, so he can go back to it with that.
Charges. So hopefully you guys found this helpful, and hopefully it's also helped to kind of show you a little bit more about what the league has to offer. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching. G'day guys, ZiggyD here, and in this video I'd like to discuss what I've...
That was a really, really good video, Ziggy. Let me demonstrate the thing if I can. Okay, so you see this here, right? Actually, can I have like an actual example? So see, this has 3 users, right? Because I locked it down from like a node like this. So let's assume, let's just picture that I could put this in here. Like remove, like let's just say that this doesn't exist here, right? And this is only like a 2 point or like a corner, and I would put it here. And without me needing to run through this zone, I could stabilize it by running into here into like a random filler node, and then stabilize it from there. And that way you could keep creating this like massive pathway. For example, do you have like, so my amplifiers aren't looking too great at the moment, but like keep running zones until you start seeing, I'm not exactly sure how the amplifier nodes are spawning. I'm not exactly sure how the mechanics of the rewards are, like how the spawning is happening with them. But like just like keep running like random areas like here or something like that, waiting for the amplifiers spawn on your like the one that you really want to buff up, and then you like do that, and then you connect them, like you stabilize them by having like a secondary like bridge next to it, which sounds really fucking crazy to me. But I don't know if the time investment to do that is worth for the rewards versus just doing what Ziggy explained. But it definitely looks like you can do some crazy ass stuff with that. So as long as you web 2 paths there are that are 10 long to the limit you can maintain. No, you could potentially make more than you could make it longer than 10. Okay. This is turning now into a paint screen. Where's my paint? Okay. I feel like this is turning into a very long as. Where is my paint? There. Glad there was no porn in there. Feels good, man. So let's just like example, like a tiny example here. This is gonna look absolutely horrible, but I'm lazy and I just wanna showcase what I mean. So like, this is like the grid system, right? I'm not sure if I'm gonna be proactive enough and actually add the, you know, the lines here, right? Then we have the starting, right? So this is like this is the middle, this is the start. Let's make it blue, right? That's the start. And then this is basically a 3 times 3. Let me just, so it's easier to picture. So let me just do from here. Or from here. Do like that, and then just expand it. This is gonna be very weird. I'm trying to explain how you can make longer than 10 distance long mega buffed up memory, right? So that gives you an idea, right? How this is going. Welcome to the, I'm lazy, okay? This is just gives you a bit of idea. So you start with, so what PD is saying that you would do 10 like this, and then you have the second path here where you're stabilizing them. But what you could also do is, instead of making a straight line, is to make something like this. And then you stabilize, not necessarily in this order, but instead of making a straight line, you can make you can go in a zigzag or something like that. And then you could stabilize these very like easily from these starts. Obviously for this specific corner piece here, you would have to go around here to be able to lock it down. But there's a lot of options on how you can do that. And I'm really liking the system on what it allows you to do. And I guess one thing we haven't talked about is, and what I'm expecting, I had a boss here. I had a boss encounter here. This is actually a new boss. Oh, interesting. But yeah, I had a boss encounter like somewhere here. Oh yeah, it was here actually. So what I'm guessing, I wonder how long this grid is, like how far this actually go, because it doesn't look like we can like extend this like further. Obviously there's at some point there is like a mathematical limit on how far you can go based on how many like pieces you can go and like try to collapse at the same time, but about trying to maintain the collapsing, right? But I'm expecting the most lucrative rewards to be far away from the start of the memory nexus. And so that they're coded in like, so when I was like doing the grid right, so that certain things can only spawn from like, you know, there's like grid like 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, so maybe only specific things can spawn like 10 grid like squares away from the start, something like that. I'm totally expecting that to be a thing. Yeah, there's my second boss, and I think we're gonna start going towards that one. Yeah, this was a pretty long like take on it, but there's a lot to talk and discuss, and what's end up actually being the best. I don't know if the one that I was explaining is gonna end up being the best, but that's definitely a way to go crazy. Yeah, Ziggy made a great video. I fucking like that video, guys.